Welcome in, Scolders. Welcome back. Another exciting episode. We're feeling it. We're less than 24 hours away. Just Tom and I tonight. We are going to do just another mock draft for you guys. Keep them coming. We can only predict so much with the rumors we've been hearing. Not necessarily what we would do as GM because we're not GMs, and that's the reason why we're doing a podcast, but just really going to sit here and give our best opinion as to based off of the team's needs and what we've been hearing in the rumor mill, not so much probably the last week because it's a lot of smoke. I think we kind of have to retrain our brains like we've been saying in previous episodes to go back to what they might have said a month ago and then go from there. So I believe Tom had the first pick on last mock draft 1.5. So on mock draft 2.0, I will flip a coin. You and I, Tom, you call it heads or tails.
I will take heads.
All right. Tails never fails. It is tails. Oh,
Can we
man.
get video evidence of that? Did the coin flip?
It did flip. There
Okay,
is
I can't
the
see.
so. Oh man, I like the even picks, but I feel like I did a lot of those yesterday with the order we had. So I'm gonna take the first overall pick in this one, and obviously for reasons. I'm a
I don't know
Caleb
what jersey
Williams
that
fan.
is. Yeah.
Caleb Williams, go Trojans!
Oh, Jordan
All
Addison's
right.
quarterback.
Hey, he's pretty good. He's pretty good at football.
Jordan
All
Addison
right.
single-handedly built Caleb Williams' career, and then he also got Ryan Pickett into the first round. Whatever.
This is true.
I mean, you just set it up a little bit ago.
Gonna start it off with the Chicago Bears. We'll try to keep this pretty quick. We don't have to elaborate too much on the picks, just maybe as to why we took a certain player later on in the draft. So I will get it out of the way. No surprises here.
Okay, well, you did Caleb Williams, a pretty generic pick. I
It's
know
not
that
generic.
it's pretty generic.
Thank you.
I know that right now all the smoke is Drake May or Jaden Daniels here at 2, but I am going to go a little bit different. There's still some people saying this other name. Some people are going to say it's a reach. About a month ago at the owners meeting, a lot of people connected this guy to the Washington Commanders at 2, and so I'll go J.J. McCarthy at 2. It's going to shake up the draft a lot. Is this necessarily what I would do? I don't know. Probably not. But I understand the reasoning behind having J.J. McCarthy instead of a Jaden Daniels or a Drake May. I think Jaden Daniels, his playing style, it just kind of scares people a little bit with not protecting his body and running so much and things like that. He could be an amazing player, but there's that injury risk that I think could scare some teams.
Very interesting pick here. I would say, yeah, probably the third most likely outcome for the Commanders here. If they do end up going there, I'm going to look up the offensive coordinator here for New England Patriots and see what kind of offense. Alex Van Pelt
former quarterback.
Is the former quarterback. He used to play for the Bills, it looks like.
Bills, yeah.
And the Chiefs. Interesting. Okay, so don't really know much about his background, but let's just say that they're going to run to the table here and turn this pick in. Jaden Daniels, pick number 3. They're going to stick and pick. No reason to move down.
I think that's who New England really wants and has wanted this whole process. I think the only reason that they've even considered trading down is because they think maybe Jaden Daniels goes 2, but maybe one of the reasons that they haven't traded yet with the Vikings or any other team is that they're not sure that Jaden Daniels for sure goes to 2, so they'd like to see how the board falls. So
I will say this, outside of this mock, the way that it's gone, let's say it goes the way a lot of people have it with Jaden going 2 to Washington and then May possibly going here at 3. The most likely scenario outside of them sticking and picking Drake May would be a possible trade down and then a trade back up, similar to what you saw with Monty Ossenfort last year with the Cardinals. You move down, you get a lot of draft capital, and then you use some of that draft capital to move back up and get your guy in J.J. McCarthy. So I think if they were to trade down with us here, get the farm, get 3 first-round picks, the first round next year, our 2 this year, and then a future third, something like that, a big haul of picks for us to move up to 3, because that's what it's going to take, then they could possibly move back up to the 5th overall pick here with the Chargers, say, hey, we have the 11, we have the 23, and sure, we'll throw you a 3rd round pick this year or 4th round pick this year as a little sweetener. They still net a first rounder next year in that whole deal. I think that's ideal scenario. It's really hard to predict what teams are going to do, though, when you put yourself in a situation where you have to trade down and then bank on getting back up.
Yeah, I mean, that could open it up for the Giants to move up to 4 and take J.J. McCarthy, too. So it's...
I just think
it's not worth moving down and trying to... I get trying to pick up all those picks, but sometimes you just got to stay there and take your guy.
And I think that's what they are going to do here.
In this scenario, not to keep going backwards, but in this scenario, that's kind of what the Washington Commanders do. My thought process is they probably want to trade back because they know that people have Daniels and Drake May higher on their boards. But I don't think that they're confident enough to move back and still get them without opening up another team to jump up and grab J.J. McCarthy.
It's a risky game you're playing, for sure.
Exactly.
All right. So Cardinals.
Cardinals they're getting a ton of phone calls right now for teams wanting to move up to take Drake May. But again, they have their guy. They've picked him out for months. He didn't participate at the combine. He hasn't worked out at all because he's locked in at number 4. Marvin Harrison Jr.
I believe that's who I selected in our last mock as well. Could see a trade down here. They're obviously going to listen, but I believe they would really have to get an overwhelming offer to move off of a player of his caliber there.
I think we kind of touched on it last night, is the Cardinals already have a ton of draft capital, so it's not really worth missing out on Marvin Harrison Jr.
Right, and I believe if this is the situation, which could possibly happen, whether it's Jaden at 2 or JJ at 3, and May is the 4th quarterback, the odd man out here, that could create a pretty favorable scenario for Kwesi and our front office, and we're gonna be calling Harbaugh. We're gonna be calling, I believe, Joel Ortiz is his name, the new GM down there in LA, and we are going to offer them everything they want for this 5th pick. I believe that first round pick next year is that sticking point, and I don't know if we're going to offer it. We're going to offer them a 4th round this year and a 3rd round next year instead of that first round pick, along with our 2 first round picks this year.
So you had it set up that the Chargers were calling the Vikings, and so the Chargers were asking for stuff, and the Vikings were saying no, but the way around.
All right. Well,
you're taking
hypothetically, Drake May, we get our quarterback, and that is my dream scenario right there, where hopefully we don't have to give up as much as the 3rd overall pick, but we still give up a good amount. Go up, get your guy. If he's your guy, I'm super happy. Pick number 6.
Okay, this is really an interesting... The news and the smoke today coming out of New York was that they are looking at Michael Penix Jr. at 6.
What?
Did you see that?
No, yeah, I don't believe that for a second.
They're talking... I don't either, but just the fact that is smoke coming out, like, that is ridiculous. I think most of the smoke we've seen this draft season, it's like, oh yeah, I could see that. I kind of buy that. But Michael Penix Jr. at 6, I think that is
Anything that came out today, I don't really believe as far as new rumors. If it's something that's already existed and people are re-saying it, then I believe it a little bit.
Probably it's just funny, or unless they're maybe there's a scenario where the Vikings move up to 6 to take a quarterback and they do trade down to 11 and take Penix. But anyways,
That'd be wild.
we are going to take Joe Alt is pretty tempting there. They still need tackle help. But we're going to go Malik Neighbors. He's just too good to pass up.
Did you see that he was on Instagram Live today?
Yeah.
And he turned off his...
Yeah.
Either didn't know or he didn't want to talk about it. Yeah. So, obviously he probably knew it's Daniel Jones, but I don't know, man. These athletes, I tell you, they got some kind of egos these days. You don't get to control where you go. The draft dictates it. They might think they're the best receiver on planet Earth, but...
Unless they're Eli Manning, then you get to dictate it.
Yeah, nobody's been able to do that in a long time. So, all right, pick number 7. I think if you're the Titans here, sure, you could trade down for a team that really wants to move up here and get their guy. I think they're just going to stick and pick. Out of what I've heard today is that there might not be as much movement early on in the draft as we would have expected with all of the quarterbacks. And as it sits, we're the only team that's willing to give up a lot because we have to. Other teams don't really feel the need to do that, so I'm just going to stick and pick Joe Alt here. Pretty boring pick, but it's probably the highest likelihood if you look at the Vegas odds for Joe Alt. Pick number 8, Atlanta.
I think in the top 10, there's probably 3 picks that are basically guaranteed. And it's Caleb Williams at 1, Marvin Harrison at 4, and then probably Joe Alt at 7. Atlanta, they're going to go Byron Murphy Jr.
All right.
There's a lot of smoke and a lot of talk that he's going to go a lot higher than people think. And he's not on this list here. He's not the best defensive player, but I think on a lot of people's boards he is.
Right. I was listening to Daniel Jeremiah today, and he was talking about how these edge rushers compared to past years' classes, and he said that none of these guys really stand out as that difference maker on the edge compared to past years where you see guys go in the top 10, top 5 overall picks. It just doesn't measure up. Sure, you still have some pretty solid players with Turner, Latu, and Verse, but yeah, not too many that compared to the Will Andersons of last year with his former teammate. All right.
Yeah, it's not top heavy, for sure.
Pick number 9, Chicago. This is probably their dream scenario here if I'm them. And I think I saw that they worked out together in LA. Caleb Williams, Keenan Allen, and Rome Odunze. And
jeez,
you could see it happening. They're already acting like it's a done deal. He's probably been told by somebody that he's expected to be drafted here. So I don't know if you also saw the interview with Canales from the head coach for the Panthers.
No.
Yeah. They asked him about Xavier Legette and how he said that he met with them 4 or 5 times. And then Canales is like, oh, yeah, we like him or whatever. And they're like, yeah, and you told him that if he's there at 33, you're going to take him. And he goes, oh, and he's kind of like deer in the headlights. He's like, yeah, but we also told that to 50 other players. So that's how you do the draft process. It's like,
wow, geez, 2-timer.
Players probably shouldn't be girls. Players shouldn't be babbling their mouths about the team that's likely to draft them. They kind of lose all their bargaining power right there. So Vikings have been hush, so we've done a good job. We have no idea what we're going to do. So other than the fact that we're going to trade up, which was evident the second we let Kirk walk out the door. All right, pick number 10, Tom.
I think there's one pretty easy pick for the New York Jets here. The Chargers will be a little pissed about it, but we're going to go Brock Bowers.
Brock Bowers goes
Tight
to
end's
Aaron
not like
Rodgers.
a huge need because they still have Jack Conklin and who's the other tight end? They've got one other.
They don't have Jack
Or
Conklin. I'll tell you that much.
Tyler Conklin.
Thank you.
Former Viking great. But Brock Bowers is too good to pass up. Another weapon for A-Rod.
Heck yeah. I think that would be a good pick. If not him, Odunze would be in that area as well. Chargers on the clock here after moving down with the Vikings. Still able to get a guy that they really value. A lot of positions that they could go here. I'm going to go with a guy who could probably come in and play inside and then kick outside after this year. I'm going to go with Troy Fautanu out of Washington.
Boy, that's a little higher than I've seen.
I think that the tackles are just always unpredictable. It's all about who they have highest on their board. I think he's a physical type player, and Harbaugh's going to really resonate with that. All right, you're on the clock, Tom. Pick number 12.
All right. Denver Broncos. The obvious pick here is something I'm not quite interested in doing right this second. Does anybody want to move up?
I think if the Broncos are sitting here, they don't have too much draft capital. They don't have a second rounder. If they're not loving who's available, you could see one of the teams that wants to get the top corner move ahead of the Raiders and the Saints. And I believe I've heard probably the Colts as the third highest team that could move up in the first round. So let's see what the Colts are going to offer here. The phone is ringing in Denver for Sean Payton and George Payton. We're going to offer 15. We're going to offer 46 in this year. And do you think that would be enough to do it?
I think that's probably overpaying.
More than enough. Well,
easy.
We got the deal
it's
done.
Enough to get it done for our sake. In real life,
that's all that matters.
I don't think
they would probably get like a fourth rounder back or something like that. Yeah. All right. And with that pick, they are going to take Quinion Mitchell. All right. Pick number 13, I believe, would be you, Tom. Or would it be me?
No, you can take it.
All right. And then we'll go back to you. Okay.
Yep.
So,
16.
I believe the Raiders sitting here. Oh, man. They would love this pick if Fashanu made it this far down the board, wouldn't they? I mean, sure, they need a quarterback, but they can try to finagle one later and move back up, I believe, like we've done in the past. So I'm going to give them the best player on the board. Olu Fashanu.
That's a great.
All right, Tom.
Saints are a little upset about that. Saints
yes, they are.
Assuming you take Michael Penix Jr., oh, you know what? But actually, the second tackle on our board is J.C. Latham, and that's who we're taking.
All right, there we go. I believe he went there yesterday as well in our mock draft. These tackles are going to go in bunches. I mean, we could see 4 or 5 tackles go in a row.
The tackles, the quarterbacks, they're going to start pushing a lot of good players down.
Yeah, I agree. It'll be fun to see.
Okay. Denver's up now. They just picked up a second. Oh, boy.
And one other thing about pushing the good players down, I've heard from multiple different high-level draft analysts like the Daniel Jeremiahs, the Field Yates, Adam Schefter. They're saying that there's probably about 22 first-round worthy players in this draft. So it is a really deep draft, but those star-studded first-rounders, it falls off at about 2022. So that's where you might see a little bit of movement.
I don't know. I think I think it might even be more than that. Okay. I really like how the board fell. Denver moved
Denver
back
needs a
for
lot.
somebody else, but we're going to take Dallas Turner. I mean, he's still on the board. It's tough to pass up.
Yeah. I believe Vance Joseph is the coordinator there. Gets him a tool to play with there on the defensive side of the ball. Obviously, offensively, they have a ways to go. They're going to have a little more ammunition after moving down to address that later in the draft. Pick number 16 here.
Okay,
man,
then
you would be up again.
is this my pick still, right? Yeah. Yeah, I think I did this yesterday, but we're going to go Graham Barton, Duke.
I believe you had Graham going to the Dolphins. I could be wrong, though. All right.
Right. It was the Dolphins. Yeah.
16 overall, a little bit higher than we've seen him go, but if you need a position and he's sitting right there for you, go ahead and get your guy. All right. Pick number 17. I believe yesterday we went with the same thing here with Tyrion Arnold going to the Jags. I don't know. It's tricky here. They lost receivers. They're really short on corners in that I'm just going to take the best player there with Arnold. Not overthink things. All right. Bengals.
Yeah. There's two players we're looking at right now. It just came out today that T. Higgins and Trey Hendrickson have both asked for trades, but we are going to go Brian Thomas Jr. just in case T. Higgins actually is traded.
Yeah, if T. Higgins is traded, you hope that they're probably getting a second rounder at the minimum back in that exchange. All right, pick number 19. I believe this was a similar board to what they had in our last mock draft. I believe I gave them an edge last time. I'm going to change things up. I'm going to give them a corner this time, and I'm going to go Cooper DeJean.
Love Cooper DeJean.
Seems like a Sean McVay type guy.
Yeah. I was talking to a Pittsburgh Steelers fan today. They think that the Steelers are looking at tackle. And the name that has come up a lot is Amarius Mims. And can you go to the tackles quick? There's another name, and I can't remember who it was.
Fuaga's still on the board.
You know what? No, we're gonna stick with. We'll go Amarius Mims. That's the name I keep hearing.
Sounds good. Dolphins are on the clock. Dolphins have a lot of needs. I think they're going to take
inside, right?
Yeah, I'm going to take Fuaga here. Don't have to overthink things there too much. If one of those guys falls, whether that's Fuaga, whether that's Barton, there's so much talent. Latham, one of those guys is going to slip a little bit farther. So, Eagles on the clock here. Cornerback,
right?
Linebacker. Here. It could go edge. I believe we gave him an edge last time.
Yeah.
Or there's Johnny Newton. They don't deserve another good defense.
They don't need it. We're gonna go Jared.
They could go
actually.
Oh wow. Okay. Let the rich get richer. All right, pick number 23, exactly. The second
that's how the teams like the Eagles and the Ravens, that happens to them every year.
Yep. And then the Eagles just suck, which is good. Hopefully they don't bounce back for our sake. Chargers are sitting here. Second of their first round picks. They stuck in the trenches with Fautanu. Was it Fautanu? Yeah, it was. And then now they're gonna stick with the Samoans here. Let's get Leatu Latu here on the outside. Best player available. Cowboys up. 24 overall.
Cowboys are getting a phone call. They are getting
Oh,
a phone call from the Denver Broncos.
okay.
Broncos are offering that 46 pick that they got from Indianapolis and their
Yep.
76 pick.
Okay.
And
Third rounder next year.
give them
Second next year. It's probably going to be a second next year.
Just for the
That would be
sake of our
two
cap.
seconds and a third for our first round pick. All right. Who do
So
they
moved
want?
up to take. They want Bo Nix.
Johnny Newton? Oh, I thought they were going to go defense for sure.
They already did. They got Dallas Turner. Coming away with Dallas Turner and Bo Nix. That's pretty good. You can't be mad.
No, that's a good haul for sure. All right.
Especially
Packers
considering
on the clock.
they came into the day without a second pick.
Right. Packers on the clock. Believe they could go. I mean, they just lost Bakhtiari. I feel like they just lost John Runyon in free agency. But then defensively, they have a lot of needs as well. I'm gonna give them a corner because it feels like something that the Packers always do. I'm gonna give them Kool-Aid McKinstry here. They like Alabama defensive backs for some reason.
Tampa Bay next. I am going to go Chop Robinson. I think he's got a high ceiling, great value at 26. He'll probably go high. I mean, there's so many guys that I feel like in our mock drafts are going to go higher in real life, but the reality is with these tackles, these quarterbacks, there's 3 receivers, they're going to push a lot of players down. So I don't know who it's going to be that gets pushed down, but
I think if you're sitting here at 27, Cardinals could move down, but they have a lot of needs on the defensive side of the ball. They're going to go Johnny Newton here and get a big influence on that side of the ball to go opposite of what they're trying to build on offense. Defensive-minded head coach in Jonathan Gannon. All right. Bills, 28.
I think this is a pretty easy pick for me if I'm the Bills. I'm going Ladd McConkey. They have no receivers. They need a receiver badly. Ladd McConkey is kind of Cooper Kupp-ish, Wes Welker-ish. He's a good player.
Yeah, for sure. And you got the Lions, a lot of needs as well, but I think they kind of like a lot of players here. I believe the phone is ringing. They're going to see if they can move down just a couple of slots here. And the phone is ringing here. I believe it would be Oakland. I mean,
Vegas?
Vegas is calling. They're willing to give the farm.
Kind of did this yesterday with the Giants moving up. Who are you worried about moving up and taking Penix?
Before the Vikings pick?
Moving up from 44. No, I mean to move up to take Penix right now.
Oh, I don't.
If I'm
the
Raiders right now, yeah. Why? Yeah.
Well, I mean, we can just look at the draft board here, and Panthers are set. They're set. I guess the only team you could look at would be Falcons, but they're not going to move up and take a quarterback. Maybe the Saints would be the only possible other team if you're worried about. So they're really just trying to get this fifth year.
Maybe the Giants.
Or the Rams way down there. But the Rams are sitting there at 52. So, yeah, I would say
Rams could.
All right. You are up again, Tom. Pick number 30, just a couple more left in the draft. I believe we've had four total trades so far. 3 in the 20s. Oh. So we've had a lot of trades. But I guess it doesn't count because
I've done a lot of trades. Can you go to the receivers quick? I just want to look at who else is still available.
A.D. Mitchell is there, Xavier Worthy, Keon Coleman. believe are the only really first-round guys I've heard. Maybe Xavier Leggett could sneak in there, or Troy Franklin.
We're going to go mix it up a little bit. He might not fit.
They just extended Bateman today.
Yeah, he's been kind of a non-factor. We're going to go Keon Coleman.
All right.
Big body, physical receiver. He plays faster than he times.
Former basketball player. I just learned today that he played at Michigan State for a year. All right.
Oh, really?
Yeah. His freshman year, and then
just a different style receiver from Zay Flowers. And
yeah, they've got a lot of fast guys. All right. San Francisco's sitting here. Man. They do need a corner. They do need a tackle. Both of those are sitting right in front of them. I don't think they have to overthink it. They could look at the value and say, I like these tackles just as much as a guy like Tyler Guyton. But we're just going to say there's a little bit of a steeper drop off on the corners here than there is at the tackle position. So they are going to go ahead and take Nate Wiggins. And to end the draft round 1, Kansas City.
Kansas City's getting a phone call from the Washington Commanders. They want to move up.
Oh, jeez.
They're going to offer pick 40 and pick 100.
Okay. Yay. All right. There you have it. So they get their tackle of the future and their quarterback of the future in McCarthy. Any other, I guess we can look at.
Yeah, let's go through
the whole draft. All right.
Just
Caleb Williams at 1, JJ at 2, Jaden 3, Marvin 4, Drake May 5, Neighbors 6, Joe Alt 7, Byron Murphy 8, Roma Dunze 9, Brock Bowers 10, Fautanu 11, Quinion Mitchell 12 in the trade up. Olufashinu falls to 13. Could happen. J.C. Latham, 14. He could be the first tackle off the board, depending on the team. Dallas Turner falling all the way to 15 here in the trade back. Don't know how late Turner could go, but that seems kind of like his absolute floor. And then you got Graham Barton going a little bit higher here.
We keep talking about these tackles and quarterbacks, and they push people down, and it could be Dallas Turner getting pushed down.
Yeah, I feel like taking a guy who's going to play in the inside usually doesn't go top 20 historically, but sometimes they have. So we'll see here how that kind of plays out with the offensive lineman. Tyrion Arnold, the second corner going off the board. Brian Thomas, really that middle receiver before that second wave. Just, I guess we can see that happening with the T. Higgins news. And then we got a little bit of a corner, defensive back, run, Cooper DeJean, some more tackles, Mims, Fuaga, 2 edges, another quarterback in Bo Nix, Kool-Aid McKinstry, Chop, Johnny Newton, Lad McConkey, Michael Penix, Keon Coleman, Nate Wiggins, Tyler Guyton. So the only other ones who didn't get drafted, who I think are going to make it into the first round, which also makes it a fun game to play here. I've heard Darius Robinson's name a lot when it comes to guys that are going to be day 1 picks. He's going to the draft. He's one of 13 players going to the draft. So either he got told false information that he's getting drafted when he might not end up getting picked, and he's going to be sitting there for 2 days in the green room by himself, or he knows for sure something with one of these late picks, and somebody's going to go out and get them.
He feels like a Niners, Ravens, or Bucks pick to me.
Yeah, for sure. One of those later teams that just takes the best athletic edge there and
get the best. Yeah.
Another name I've possibly heard would be Jordan Morgan out of Arizona. I guess it all depends on the tackle run there at the end. And then I think A.D. Mitchell and Xavier Worthy, both of those players are first-round talent. It's just whether or not they end up getting picked. And, of course, JPJ, I think he's a first-rounder as well. So really just depends on if these teams move down.
I'm hearing that JPJ is moving out of the first round right now.
Oh, really? Live take in your ear?
I don't really understand why. No, yeah, right this second. No, one of the things I've been hearing is that his stock is falling and that people are wondering if he really does have the versatility that was kind of advertised. And so he might fall out of the first round completely.
Interesting. Tyler Nubin is a fun name here out of Minnesota who's gotten rave reviews, and I believe Darren Doogie Wolfson just talked to him the other day, and he told him that teams are telling him to expect his name anywhere from the mid-20s all the way through 50. So he's kind of just right in that range where it really depends on the fit and the scheme. But yeah, he definitely could sneak up into the late first round if the right team is calling. So I hope he goes to a cool spot. Hopefully not. If he goes to the Packers, I feel like that'd be like the fourth former Gopher. Like, they always get our former Gophers, and it sucks to cheer for because you obviously want him to do well. But that's just the NFL for you. Like, name the last Gopher who's been a Viking who's actually been a contributor. Marcus Sherrills, I guess. That's probably it.
Yeah, probably.
So, yeah, it's just a rarity.
What mock between last night's mock and tonight's mock, which one do you like more and which one do you think is more realistic?
I would say tonight's is a little bit more realistic just based off the fact for the Vikings scenario, but as far as the top 5 picks, I don't know. I mean, if one player goes,
JJ McCarthy pick.
I'm not saying I don't love it. It's a possibility until it doesn't happen. But yeah, I think McCarthy. We've heard it. I think it might be the Will Levis thing, and I'm nervous about that because I don't know how the Vikings are going to handle it, and that's what I'm most nervous for. I'll talk about this briefly. So, say Caleb Williams, Jaden Daniels, Drake May, 1, 2, 3. Vikings are still sitting there at 11. We've made our calls. Weren't able to move up. Don't get any of those guys. Now we're going to say, okay, JJ McCarthy, where do we value him? Are we willing to give up that future first? I'm guessing they're going to sit there and say, no, he's not a needle mover like the other 3 quarterbacks were. So we're going to sit back. We're going to be a little bit more reserved in our efforts. See how far he falls. We're going to basically call the bluff here on the New York Giants. Giants are going to go ahead. They're going to take Neighbors. Chargers are going to get their linemen. Board's going to kind of fall how a lot of mocks have it, and you're going to see J.J. McCarthy possibly fall out of the top 10. And if that happens, are we going to take him at 11? Most likely. But that's where you kind of have to draw the line if your Kwesi is like, what is worth giving up too much? Or let's say he's falling to 7, 8, 9. Are we going to give up a 3rd round pick and a future 2nd to move up a couple spots? Because I think we really would value our draft picks the closer and closer it gets to 11. And we're going to say, you know what, that's fine. If McCarthy's not the needle mover, he's not our guy, we're totally fine with taking Bo Nix at 11 or at 23. So I think that's going to be what I'm thinking about tomorrow night. And it's just really interesting because I do believe that Drake May has been their guy for the last 2 years. And we're going to do everything we can to get him. And I would bet money that he ends up in a Viking uniform. It's just going to be all up to the New England Patriots and what they want to do at 3.
I guess my thoughts on it is I see JJ McCarthy as, I think that he's in the same tier as Jaden Daniels and Drake May. Or if not, he's just like, he's just below. So I don't think there's a big enough difference in talent there to not move up. I think moving up, and if you're only giving a mid-round pick or two to move up and get JJ, I think that's totally worth it. I mean, it also depends on how does Denver and Las Vegas, do they value J McCarthy too? Ideally, we sit at 11 and McCarthy's sitting right there, but you have to gauge and see what the risk is to see if Denver and Vegas want to move up too. So you kind of have to be aggressive in that situation if he does fall past 6.
For sure. So let's take a look at, so which NFL draft chart have you used? Is it the drafttech.com one? Believe.
Yeah.
It's one of the ones we've
Johnson.
pulled up. Yeah. Okay. So just hypothetically, if JJ makes it past the Giants there, Titans could be a contender to move down, Atlanta could move down, Chicago could move down. Let's just say that it's 8.
I think it's Atlanta. Yep.
1,400 points for the 8th overall pick, and we're sitting at 1,250. So I believe we've talked about this on the podcast or off the podcast in the past. That would be difference of 150 points. That's nothing. Then you're looking at 150 points on here would be the 88th overall pick, which would be a 3rd rounder. So you have to pay the quarterback tax,
which we don't have.
I think we don't have a 3rd rounder this year, right? So you're looking at probably next year's 2nd, which we don't have. We don't have next year's 2nd. So it's tricky.
I think probably it's probably 108 and a future 3rd.
It's probably 2 4th rounders, and then we don't have any picks.
Yeah.
We would have a quarterback, and then we would have no picks until the 5th. So that's what you're looking like there. Let's say it's the Jets, 1,300, difference of 50 points. It's a little more feasible. You're looking at a 4th round pick there. Give up one of our 4ths to jump up one spot. Sure, I would do that if we needed to. But yeah, maybe Chicago, difference of 100 points. You're looking at a similar 3rd round value.
With us, though.
Maybe. Yeah, probably not. If it's for a quarterback, I don't know why they would. Right, exactly.
Right.
Yeah, Atlanta is, I mean, Tennessee, it seems like that would be the medium ground. Like, we would have to give up I feel like, I don't know what we would do. We'd give up 2 firsts maybe, and then get their 2nd and 7, probably, and something like that, which I have seen a couple ideas floated around like that. Like, what if we called Arizona and said, hey, would you do 11 and 23 straight up for 27 and 4, and we'll throw in a future pick? Right? They still get 2 first rounders.
They
move up 4 slots, and then down would be 7 slots. So that then you're gonna have to calculate what the difference would be, especially from 11 to 4. So it would probably be a future 2nd rounder in 2026. I don't know, just something to consider. The only other team with 2 first round picks is Chicago. They don't want to deal with us. Is there any other teams I'm missing there?
I don't think so.
A lot of fun scenarios that we could end up having in there for the Vikes. This one we end up with my favorite scenario with Drake May, and still getting Drake May without having to give up that crucial 3rd first round pick. So I think that's the sticking point for Kwesi, and I hope he sticks to that, but also I don't really care if Drake May's our guy. Just go and do what you got to do. Give up 3 first rounders. Go get your guy. So Hopefully, we are talking after the draft about this, and we are not just scared shitless. So I'm excited.
This might be the most important draft in Vikings history, to be completely honest.
It might be.
I
You're
mean,
right.
this is going to either set the franchise up for a decade of success, or it could set them back a decade. Maybe not a decade, 5 years or so. But
Right.
that's a long time. I can't remember a time where one single draft night has meant so much to a team, or specifically the Vikings.
Exactly. I think that's why so many fans are excited, and we don't really know too much yet. So that's why I've kind of not sold myself on any one particular quarterback. I guess before we sign off, I'll say my top quarterbacks and I'll rank them just in the ones that we can get. I'll do Drake May number 1, JJ 2, Bo Nix 3, and then Penix 4. How about you?
Yeah, I think that's about the same.
I feel like Penix would
I
really prosper in our offense. I've watched enough interviews with him, and he seems right up Kevin O'Connell's alley as far as the type of leader and guy he would be from day one. Like, he could come in and learn that quick. The type of offense that they ran in Oregon, I mean, similar with Penix, I've heard, with the ability that he has to check at the line, alter your protections, change a certain route package. Like, there's so many, like, these quarterbacks are advanced. They're not projects. Like, people can say they're projects all they want, but Drake May is super talented in his intellectual IQ for football. Like, I've heard stories about him, like, going back to high school and the ability that he had back then. I mean, even J.J. McCarthy, he started playing varsity as a freshman, and as an 8th grader, he was around the team. He was, like, he's just been a football lifer. So, like, I do get a little nervous with that. Like, sure, he can do all the things and say all the right things, and then you still have to go out there and actually do it. He could just be a super tryhard and fall short, but I do like, for all of those reasons, I like.
He's got arm talent to back up all those intangibles. It's not betting on his intangibles, but he's got the traits as well.
Yeah, so I feel like I'd be happy with whatever quarterback we take, and I'm kind of convincing myself that I'd be okay with whatever we give up to get that quarterback, because I'm not going to turn into one of those Vikings fans that goes, well, if we give up our first next year, it's not going to be worth it. Like, whatever. We put ourselves in this situation, so figure it out.
I'd rather keep 23 than the first next year, so give up the first next year, give up the first in 26. I don't really care. I want 23 this year.
You want Byron Murphy.
Or Dallas Turner, if he falls to 15 or something.
Yeah.
Might like it.
You might. Flores would love it. All right. We're signing off. Thanks for joining, guys. See you after the draft. Skol.
I got him. Never